Bon Appetit is a cooking and food magazine launched in 1956 and is now owned by Condé Nast, who also publishes Pitchfork, Vanity Fair, Wired, The New Yorker, Vogue, and Epicurious, among others. Like practically every other magazine on the planet nowadays, Bon Appetit, and Condé Nast by extension, was forced to reevaluate their content strategy with the onset of the digital and online age. People may read magazines with their Apple News Plus subscription? No, they won't, let's be real. So because print media is going away and digital media is everywhere, the first logical move a magazine would make would be to simply take the articles from the magazine and post them online. And Bon Appetit does this. Their recipes can be accessed and read on their official website. But with that comes another problem: monetization. Web advertisements are simply not enough of a substitute for the magazine subscription model of old. And while some magazines may be able to gate their content behind a paywall, Bon Appetit didn't really have that as an option. Bon Appetit likely was the recipe destination for many back in the day, but today that destination is Google. And for better or for worse, there's no competing with Google. If one recipe is behind a paywall and another isn't, then we both know what we're having for dinner tonight. This brings us to why we're even talking about Bon Appetit in the first place. Because more and more people today don't know Bon Appetit as a magazine. They know it as a YouTube channel with one of the more interesting content development stories on the entire platform. A story that can teach us far more than how to make Cheez-Its with a
custom-made hot-glued comb thingy
and a dehydrator. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today on It's Alive with Matt Leone. That's me. I'm Matt Leone. We're not in the Bon Appetit test kitchen because quarantine, but today we're gonna make some pancakes. It's a classic fermented product. So the first thing we need, buttermilk, but because it's quarantine, right, we don't have any. Everyone took it all. They took it with their toilet paper. They're wiping their butts with like freaking buttermilk or whatever. So we gotta make it. We're gonna make a substitute buttermilk situation. We got some milk here, right? And we got some lemons. Because when they say, when life gives you lemons, you make buttermilk, right? That's how that works. 1 1/4 cup of milk, right? So we got our little Pyrex boy here. Ooh. 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 I don't know who invented this idea, but you just do like a big old squeeze of lemon in there. That is not a big old squeeze of lemon. Squeeze a lemon. Yeah, and then you just like let it sit there for like 30 minutes. The history of YouTube is fairly well known at this point. It was built by a group of former PayPal employees as a place to upload and share user-created video. The site's first upload, entitled Me at the Zoo, is somewhat ironically indicative of the direction the site's content would head in: personality and creator-focused. Directly below the title of every video uploaded to the site is the name of the uploader of said video, directly identifying the creator as a sort of brand. And next to that name is a subscription button, which, similar to a magazine subscription, enables viewers to opt in to having new content delivered to them directly. And with more relatively recent additions like the join button and notification bell, viewers can even customize their subscription to their liking and monetarily support creators directly. Because YouTube creators are brands and YouTube viewers are subscribers to those brands, hindsight indicates that personality-focused content on the platform was almost inevitable. The infrastructure and UX of the site itself practically ensured it. Through this lens, it's easy to see how these elements played a large role in the success of many of the creators viewers know and love today. And it's even easier to see why many of those channels fell from such great heights. If users are subscribing to people, then the image, appeal, and marketability of a person is the lifeblood of success on the YouTube platform. The benefit of this model is that a lot of good-hearted and selfless people can find success on the platform due to the inherent human interest that comes with selflessness. The detriment, of course, is that bad actors can also bubble up to the top if they market themselves well enough. At first, it seems like a personality-focused platform would be the last place for food recipes to succeed, but television already began to solve that problem, because dry recipe content didn't really work there either. Many cooking shows often struck a balance between the educational content and the personality. The Emeril Lagasses, the Bobby Flays, and the racists of the world got famous for their food most certainly, but they also got famous through being personable and relatable. Emeril was a champion of his craft, but he invited his audience to cook with him. He didn't want his audience to do exactly what he repeated. Instead, he wanted people to aspire to be artists and chefs on their own, using his show not as a tutorial, but as a launch pad for their own culinary style and approach. Bobby Flay appeals to a more idealist working-class American stereotype, a high school dropout who found his talent through hard work and resilience, now showcasing that idealism on the big stage as other working-class Americans compete to outcook him on Beat Bobby Flay. Paula Deen appealed to a different stereotype, that of the traditionalist white American South, and it's probably best that I stop there. These shows worked because they used the personality of their host to bring both a human element to otherwise dry content and a mission statement that extends beyond the simple act of cooking a meal. Viewers can make a satisfactory dish without the help of Bobby Flay or Emerald, but viewers can't get the motivation and drive that their cooking presentation inherently delivers. This is the sort of logic that many successful YouTube chefs took, intentionally or not, when establishing a format for their shows. Not all of them show their faces, but they inject loads of personality into their presentation. The smooth narration and entertainment slant of Binging with Babish, the relatable simplicity of Laura in the Kitchen, the absolute insanity that is You Suck at Cooking, or my personal favorite human on the internet, Gennaro Contaldo.
Why I'm cooking so good!
It's the same exact philosophy behind those cooking shows of old, but refined into its purest and most fundamental form for internet video. Armed with a notably smaller budget than the pre-built set live audience multi-camera productions of the Food Network, YouTubers needed to lean on their personality harder in order to carry the notably simpler production approach of one person, one camera. These people succeeded on the YouTube platform because they engage their audience and connect with them on a level deeper than teacher to student. That's the societal context in which Bon Appetit lives and thrives, because instead of being a channel about one person or a few people, Bon Appetit is a channel about a whole test kitchen full of personality. The production philosophy at Bon Appetit is that the food in the video is actually second to the person who's making it. Video titles throw the cook's name before the meal they're preparing. Nearly every single thumbnail in the channel's recent history has a person in it, and the channel banner, up until recently, didn't have a single bit of food in sight. Because these people, the cooks, are the true stars of the show, beginning with the bright youthful smile in the center, Brad Leone. Alright, so buttermilk's getting some like curdy stuff on top or something like that, and it seems like what it's supposed to be doing. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take some big bowls here, some flour going here. Could get all fancy, do a big old stand mixer, but you know, we need some exercise here in quarantine time. We're not going out to the gym, we're not doing any of that stuff. So we gotta make this happen, right? Gotta make it happen. And we got a teaspoon, some baking powder right here. You got some baking powder. And this one has a convenient little lip here. You can go like, get that perfect measurement. I love that. Got some baking soda in here, bam. Bam. And then with the salt, because this is a little pouring mechanism here. Pretty sure this is just for flavor, but you know, gotta be exact the measurements anyway. We're not baking, but you know, we have baking ingredients in here. I don't know. Eggo number. Oh, that was terrible. But the fun thing about sugar is sugar is actually a wet ingredient. It's kind of a weird catch-22, weird thing. That's not gonna scramble the eggs. It's not gonna scramble the eggs anymore. Look at that butter. Get a close-up on that butter. I don't know why, but we're gonna get a close-up on the butter. Get that, hit that in there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little get some of that in there. We gotta get the buttermilk in there. That's important. It's a little lumpy, it's okay. All right, that seems like we're combined and good and stuff, yeah? Brad Leone worked for Bon Appetit since graduating from the Institute of Culinary Education, from intern to test kitchen manager, but would go on to set the stage for video content to come, because on October 21st, 2016, Brad Leone decided to make kombucha.
Oh God, oh God, oh cut. Cut, Vin.
What happened, Brad?
Oh. Tragedy over here.
Is this your first time making kombucha, Brad?
Sure looks like it.
It's Alive is a show that's framed as a traditionalist cooking show with an emphasis on fermented products, but instead of featuring the clean-shaven, fancy-looking bourgeoisie type, we get Brad. And Brad isn't a bad chef or a bad person, He was just a bit of a goof sometimes. Every single element in the show was designed not to help demonstrate best cooking technique, but instead to emphasize Brad's inherently lovable personality. Unlike the multi-camera productions and dedicated sets, It's Alive is shot with a single camera in the same kitchen that everyone else is working in. Instead of making something polished and clean for the television screen, the show was directed in a way that emphasized the flaws. Cameraman Vinnie Cross often went out of his way to zoom in or focus on unrelated elements for the sheer charm and comedy of it. The editor, Matt Hunziker, played a similar role, using text and motion graphics not just to show the recipe, but to show the goofs and frequent word mispronunciation. When recipes are shown, they're displayed through a cartoony chalkboard setup, forcing viewers to trudge through agonizing levels of joy and happiness in order to get to the information. A key aspect of Brad's personality that Bon Appetit producers began to understand over time was his ability to play off of other people. If they put Brad in a room with someone who appears smarter than him, even if they aren't, Brad shines through his lines of questioning, weird tangents, and overall friendly demeanor. As such, later episodes of It's Alive started playing up this aspect more and more, featuring other members of the test kitchen and celebrity guests. Eventually, the show took Brad outside of the test kitchen to go crabbing in Alaska and make olive oil in Italy. Then, this transformed into its own sister show, Goin' Places. Goin' Places tones down the editing and visual goofs a bit in order to pay respect to the craftsmen on display, giving good old Brad a window for him to peer into and learn from. The show's taken Brad all manner of places to meet all manner of interesting people, from cattle herders in the farmlands to fishers in Hawaii. The videos in this series brilliantly showcase Brad's ability to shine as a host and video personality, leading to his transition away from his role as test kitchen manager in 2018 to work exclusively on video content. It's a role that fits him incredibly well. Around the same time as It's Alive's launch came a few other shows that featured different personalities. Back to Back Chef features food director Carla Lalli Music competing with celebrities to cook dishes quickly and accurately. Working 24 Hours featured Andrew Knowlton doing exactly that at a number of popular fast food joints. Handcrafted pulls specialists into the test kitchen to break down their craft. Later on, Alex Eats It All launched, which featured Alex Delaney trying every restaurant's version of a particular dish in a city and voting on the best. Many of these shows perform well, but they're far from Bon Appetit's bread and butter because Brad irreversibly defined what that bread and butter was. In the years since It's Alive launched, few have managed to overtake it consistently in terms of viewership and audience retention, but one person did, and her name is Claire Saffitz. Originally, Gourmet Makes was supposed to be a show similar to Handcrafted, in which candy, pastry, and dessert specialists came into the test kitchen and made gourmet versions of the box treats we all know and love. But as Claire said in an interview, the producers decided to change their mind when they realized they could just make Claire do it. What ensued was a series that not only generally would succeed in making better versions of snack food delicacies, but more importantly would continue to tell a personality-focused story with every single episode. The episode always starts with a big reveal, a happy-looking Claire behind a table full of the product she's supposed to recreate. She's occasionally a bit nervous and uncertain, but generally confident in her ability to succeed in her task, just like the audience. She then recounts her history with the product, whether it be complete unfamiliarity with the likes of Pocky Sticks or lifelong nostalgia for the likes of Kit Kat bars, before tasting the snack in its various flavors. Next, she'll take the time to do a sort of dissection of the product, getting a general idea of what components make up the treat. Then comes her favorite part, said genuinely in the first episodes, then ironically later on, and cynically later still,
reading the ingredients.
The goal of this segment, whether intended or not, is to overwhelm Claire, and the viewer by extension, with a massive list of things to think about when considering the task ahead. This is followed by some research, which often helps set the initial direction of the episode. All of these processes happen every single episode, but in addition to surface level relatability, they also provide a deeper sense of connection between Claire and her audience. As viewers get more and more acclimated to the kinds of approaches she takes when testing recipes, these opening segments give the viewer a moment to think out loud with Claire. As Claire breaks down the ingredients list and tears apart these treats, fans of the show can use their knowledge of prior Gourmet Makes episodes to try and figure out what kind of strategy makes the most sense before she even starts cooking, and whether tempering chocolate would or wouldn't be a part of that process. The rest of the episode is a journey to get as close to a gourmet version of the snack as possible across numerous tests, many days, highs and lows, and a lot of failure and reevaluation. Sometimes, hopefully, the process will take 3 days, but many of the longer episodes see Claire hitting the 5 or 6 day mark. Regardless of whether she views the final product as a success or not, Claire will always come out of the process with something that tastes good, as her numerous coworkers attest. To close out the episode, she presents her final recipe for the homemade gourmet recreation. As the series progressed, episodes went from 10 to 15 minutes to well over 40 minutes as the producers realized that, like It's Alive, the most compelling part of the show isn't the treat or the cooking or the final recipe, but Claire herself. While Brad stands as a quirky personality and host that played well off of other people, Claire is more of a representation of the every person. She has incredible talent in the kitchen, but ultimately, like everyone else, she has to set her alarm, wake up in the morning, and go to work. And while outside of the show she has expressed her unequivocal joy at working at Bon Appetit, Gourmet Makes intentionally plays up the struggle and hardship of the process, because it's those moments where Claire shines, where Claire comes off as the most human. In this sense, Claire not only embodies the entire production philosophy of Bon Appetit's video content, but, like Brad, also played a massive role in fundamentally transforming and refining what that production philosophy actually was. This was proven to be true in the past 2 years, as a number of new shows have been introduced to Bon Appetit, all of which mirror the format of Brad and Claire's shows in the most essential ways, while remixing the subject matter in a way that best fits the personality of the host. Chris Morocco, known for being Claire's toughest critic and for smelling literally everything before eating, appropriately gets reverse engineering, where he masterfully recreates professional dishes in 3 tries despite not being able to see the original dish or know what it even is. This show combines the appeal of Claire's struggle with the sheer disbelief at this man's ability to identify specific ingredients by blindly touching and tasting them. Andy Baragani gets a more traditional laid-back show befitting of his more chilled-out personality, as he opens himself up to new regional cooking styles in Andy Explores. It has a different sort of human element that, like with Brad, throws a professional like Andy into an environment where, instead of being the teacher, he's the student. Molly Boss, a fun, quirky personality known for abbreviating food names among plenty else, hosts Molly Tries, where she's mysteriously presented cards and presents throughout the course of an episode, which will expose her to an entire hidden world of cooking and cuisine. This is a similar human element to Andy's show, but compounds it with the bizarre sense of adventure and mystery that excites both her and the audience throughout the process. And no, not the kind of mystery that was brought up at the end of the first episode, men. Come on now.
That was not a monetary offer.
I'm so sorry that you had this.
I just want to, while I'm getting my portrait taken, I want to see dick pics. Thanks, Internet.
Another relatively recent initiative was the addition of other shows outside of the basic recipe videos that combine talent and force hosts to play off of each other. Test Kitchen Talks is a Q&A or challenge segment which always has something fun and exciting going on. Alex Delaney switched from trying all of one food in Alex Eats It All to eating everything in a single restaurant with a friend from the Test Kitchen in one of everything. And perhaps most excitingly, Making Perfect forces the core group of hosts to collaborate in making what they deem is the ultimate version of a dish, even though their supposedly perfect pizza was so very wrong in this amateur's opinion. Hey Claire, make pancakes. How's it going?
Matt, we've been through this. You're not Brad, I'm not Claire.
So we're gonna get some butter in the grill here. Want to get it all nice and sizzly. I mean, you can measure it out. You could do it however you want. You can get a little ladle, something like that. But I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a nice light little pour in the middle here. So this is what we call a tester, right? So you cook this one, and then you see whether it's good or not, whether you need to turn the heat up, how long you need to hold it for. Now, if we want to do the chocolate chips, we'll do a little sprinkle of the chocolate chips on top. We're not going to waste the chocolate on the tester. This is the tester. This is the boring guy, boring little tester. Oh, we might be there. Oh, we might be there. Wah! Really, if you wanted to be super smart, you'd set a timer. You'd be like, how much time on each side? I mean, you know. Because that's the whole point of the tester, but like, it's kind of too late for that. Let me do a little flippity flop. That seems pretty good. It seems like that's pretty decent grub here. Gonna just cut right in the middle because that's where it's gonna be. That's a damn good pancake. Just a few years ago, this YouTube page was a place to find recipes and nothing else. Now it's a content hub full of unique and diverse shows and talent that captivates people in a way that they keep coming back, not for the food, but for that talent and those shows. With this incredible content development strategy came a number of imitators, greatest among them being BuzzFeed's Tasty, a cooking website that blew up after mastering the art of the Facebook recipe. Square videos with catchy music, snappy editing, and drool-inducing cinematography. Their online presence is far greater than that of Bon Appetit, but with Facebook's decline in popularity came a drastic shift in approach. Suddenly, the innovator became the follower, launching Rie's Make It Fancy and Alvin's Making It Big to try and capitalize on the gold mine that Bon Appetit uncovered. In some sense, they succeeded, with these shows pulling in views by the millions, but they still have yet to truly capture the magic that is the Bon Appetit test kitchen. Both channels are run by large media conglomerates with the goal of embracing personality-based content, but only one of them manages to immerse the viewer into the culture of the kitchen itself and truly invest themselves in an emotional capacity. The ultimate proof of Bon Appetit's true dominance came on July 11th, 2019, when Bon Appetit uploaded its latest It's Alive video. 30 minutes of Brad and Claire, the two biggest faces of the brand, completely failing to make donuts. Completely fail as in, by the time the video was complete, donuts were not made. In fact, the It's Alive episode extends to 3 full parts that total to over an hour of content. To an outsider, this should be a drop in the bucket, a complete miscalculation. But people that watch Bon Appetit know that videos like these are some of the most entertaining on the entire channel. The video starts like a more standard video, with the duo explaining their thought process behind the sour donuts they plan to make before working on the initial dough. The video then very quickly devolves into absolute insanity, conspiracy theories about Illuminati, discussions of robocalls, debates on how to pronounce brioche, and an absolute disaster of a dough rotation. Claire, true to her working American struggle vibe, arrives late for part 2, giving Brad the opportunity to take a hard left turn into a Dunkin' Donuts story about the infamous Rat King, as Brad does. It isn't until the shortest part, the 15-minute finale, that donuts are actually made successfully, and viewers that just want to learn how to make sour donuts gain absolutely nothing by watching the first 2 parts. But part 1 of this madness has over 3.2 million views, because it's an absolutely incredible video for every reason other than the donuts that aren't made. The biggest benefit to all of this isn't that these shows are successful, however. Rather, it's that the success of these shows directly feeds back into the magazine and the core recipes that the brand was initially founded upon. If people want to look up any old cinnamon bun recipe, they have Google. But Claire Saffitz isn't just any old person. We've seen her highs and lows, we relate to her, and through the parasocial relationship we formed with her, we trust her, so we go watch her cinnamon bun recipe instead. Through knowing the people behind the food, not only do we engage with more content, people also engage with the brand more, make their recipes, and maybe even figure out how Apple News Plus works to get the magazine. And while all of this is great for Bon Appetit, and even greater for their corporate overlords at Condé Nast, it's greater still for everyone else in this melting pot known as the internet. It goes to show that big budgets and overly sanitized market-friendly productions, the kind of things that used to work on TV, don't work anymore. Faceless corporations and perceived authority no longer rule the roost in a world of follow buttons and individualized profiles. People have to be brands, yes, but more importantly, brands have to show more humanity. The little fish, the individuals working hard every day to make the art they truly care about, they're more capable of getting their voice out there today than ever before. And yes, these platforms may be owned by their own set of faceless corporations. And yes, those corporations maybe still have too much control over those platforms. But despite all of that, in this environment, people can still dominate. Here's a toast to all the Claires of the world, the people who go to work to make money to pay the bills. Here's a toast to the Brads of the world, the quirky oddballs who don't look like the skilled talent they actually are. Here's a toast to the Mollys and the Andys and the Carlas and the Chris's, the people in front and behind the camera, the people who don't even know how a camera works, and the people who watch, who embrace the bits of joy and happiness that humanity can bring. Bon appetit! Thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a while. A lot has changed. We're in quarantine. This is a new place. There's a rake behind me, but we're here, and that was a video, and I hope you enjoyed it. More videos have been written. We're working on it. We're getting there. So on one side of me somewhere is the credits. There's a lot of people that helped me out with this one, as always is the case with all of these videos. I always consult a lot of people. There's a camera operator literally right in front of me. I'm looking at her right now. But if you want to support the show, I have a Patreon. It's very much a donation box sort of thing. You don't get anything in return, but it's more just if you feel like supporting the show, if you like what I'm doing here, then you can pledge any amount of dollars that you wish per video, so you probably won't pay for another like 2 months or something like that. Or you could do a one-time donation over at Coffee. I don't even drink coffee, but you know, buying me a metaphorical coffee, it'll go towards something towards the budget of the next video, basically. I have 2 videos I want to recommend to y'all today. One is a video that's sort of a capstone to my journalism degree, basically where I argue that objectivity as we know it and refer to it today doesn't really fully exist. If that frustrates you or interests you, then go check that one out. The other video is actually kind of technically my last video. There was sort of a small one in between there, but it came out a long time ago, last July. But it's about Thomas the Tank Engine, Thomas and Friends, the classic kids show. And it basically talks about video production as it's evolved over the past few decades, and that's a show is a great example because it's still running today, and it premiered, like I said, several decades ago. That's really it. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm gonna go eat some pancakes. And by that, I mean I already ate them.
Brad Leone worked for Brad Leone worked for Bradley